While you have definitely heard of the Bermuda Triangle, did you know that there's another disappearance zone right here in the United States? From the years 1945 to 1950, 5 people would go missing. Only one of their bodies was ever found. The Bennington Triangle is located in southwestern Vermont, and while there are not exact boundaries to define the area, most would agree that it is centered upon Glastenbury Mountain and includes the towns of Bennington, Woodford, Shaftesbury, and Somerset. The first disappearance would take place on November 12, 1945. Mitty Rivers, 74, an avid outdoorsman, would go missing while hunting at Brickford Hollow, an area only 4 miles west of Bennington. Rivers was described as well acquainted with the area that he would later go missing from. The last reported person to see him alive would be a friend of his, who reported seeing Rivers on a trail heading away from his hunting camp. After failing to return home that night, a search party was sent out to find him. However, the search would come back empty-handed. While the search party was not successful, a hiker would discover a piece of evidence. The hiker would find Rivers' handkerchief, along with Spring. Rivers' body has still not been found. The second person to go missing was 18-year-old Paula Jean Weldon. On December 1st, 1946, Weldon was last seen hiking 2 miles south of the area where Rivers vanished just over a year before. Weldon left her college campus early in the afternoon the day of her disappearance. She decided to hitchhike to the Long Trail. Multiple hikers and even a staff member reported seeing and or talking to her before her disappearance. Some reported that she seemed to be underdressed for the weather. After missing class the next morning, a search was launched. A large area was searched for weeks, however the search would not bring any results. The story of Weldon's disappearance would grow to the point that the FBI was offering a reward of $5,000 and the National Guard would also participate in the search efforts. The next disappearance would occur exactly 3 years later to the same date. James Tedford, a 68-year-old World War I veteran, would go missing on December 1st, 1949. Tedford, a resident of Bennington, had been visiting family in St. Albans. When he was due to come back, those same relatives would accompany him to a bus stop where they would watch as he boarded the bus back down south. The last confirmed sighting of Tedford was from an acquaintance who said they'd been talking right before Tedford would transfer onto a bus heading back to Bennington. The bus driver would later report that he witnessed a man that could have been Tedford departing the bus in a town called Brandon, a town that was nearly 70 miles north of his destination of Bellington. Later that night, Brandon police would respond to a report of a man who would fit Tedford's description, acting strangely. It would take a full week before Tedford would be reported as missing. It is also important to report that Tedford was labeled as mentally ill by news outlets at the time. Tedford was never found. The next person to go missing was also the youngest. On October 12, 1950, 8-year-old Paul Buddy Jepson would go missing while with his mother doing farm chores. Jepson, a special needs child, was left unattended for around half an hour in his mother's car while she tended to a herd of pigs the family owned. When she returned back to the car, Jepson would be gone. A search party would organize with a bloodhound in which they would pick up his scent. Sadly, the scent went cold at a nearby intersection. Again, Jepson was never found. Rita Langer was the last person to go missing, and also disappeared shortly after Jepson. Langer, 53, would go missing on October 28, 1950, only 16 days after Jepson went missing. While officially part of the core 5 that have gone missing, Langer's disappearance has stark differences. Langer, an active hunter and hiker, would be hiking with her husband and her cousin near the town of Somerset. After slipping and falling into a stream, she decided to take a shortcut back to their cabin to change her clothes. After telling this plan to the 2 hiking partners, she would depart without them. After failing to return to the group, a search party would be launched in which they were unable to find Langer. Langer had suffered from a seizure disorder, a disorder her husband claimed could have possibly caused her to become lost and disoriented. The difference between Langer's disappearance and the rest of the disappearances would be that Langer's body was eventually found. On May 12, 1951, 7 months after her disappearance, fishermen would find her body. Her body was found 3 miles from the campsite she was heading back towards, on the shore of the Deerfield River. While this area had been searched in the original search, it was reported as only to be searched lightly. Due to the time that had passed, an official cause of death was unable to be determined, but some investigators theorized that she might have drowned in a pond, and had been flushed out by a spring freshet. There are multiple different theories behind the disappearances of the Bennington Triangle. Some range from fantastical, some range to sadly realistic. Starting with the fantastical would be the legend of the Bennington Monster and the Man-Eating Stone. The Bennington Monster seems to be what I would consider to be a Bigfoot knockoff, and even less is known about the so-called Man-Eating Stone. The Man-Eating Stone, as far as I can tell, was made up by Joseph A. Citro for his book, The Vermont Monster Guide. Honestly, it's just way too funny to not add this to the video. The Man-Eating Stone is a stone that just eats people. Okay, let's take a step back towards reality. Some people believe that some or all of the disappearances could be attributed to a serial killer. The interest with this theory mostly lies upon the disappearance of Paula Jean Weldon. One of the last people who had reportedly seen Weldon alive was a lumberjack named Fred Gaudette. Gaudette was fighting with his girlfriend as Weldon passed the pair. Shortly after this, Gaudette would storm away from his girlfriend. Gaudette was caught changing his story multiple times in regards to what happened next. One time he said that he had gone back to his shack and spent the night alone. Another time he said that he had driven in the direction that Weldon had been walking. The most disturbing side of this story would be that Gaudette would tell at least 2 people that he knew of within 100 feet of where Weldon's body was buried. While he was a person of interest in the case, charges could not be brought against him due to the lack of evidence against him and the lack of evidence that a crime had been committed in general. The final theory would be that the area just happens to be dangerous and an inhospitable place. Vermont is full of vast forests, steep mountains, and rushing rivers. While it is certainly strange how many people have disappeared without a trace, it would be remiss to neglect these facts. Whatever the case may be, if you ever find yourself hiking within the Bennington Triangle, don't go alone, watch for strange rocks, and make sure you stay subscribed.